Hey, what's up Theremin fans? One of the first questions you may have when thinking about picking up this instrument is, what is the range of the instrument? What's the lowest note that I can play? And what's the highest note? Today we're going to figure out that answer for this specific theremin, an Etherwave Standard, produced by Moog. Before we get into it, let me briefly review two different ways to think about written music. First, the physics approach. Each note that we hear is a result of airwaves that are oscillating at very specific frequencies. And there is actually a very specific, precise, physics-based science definition for each of these notes. For example, the standard tuning for concert A is 440 Hz. And if you double that frequency from 440 to 880 Hz, you get the next octave higher. Having that from 440 down to 220 Hz gives you the octave lower. And this kind of physics-based understanding about waves and frequency and rarefaction and compression is interesting from the scientific perspective, but doesn't really offer much in the way of talking about music. Our second method is when we think about scientific pitch notation. In scientific pitch notation, each note is designated by a letter and a number. The letter, as you'd predict, is the note, and that number indicates the octave. A higher number is the higher pitch, and a lower number is the lower pitch. Let's take a look at what the whole range of what a piano can play. The lowest note it can play is an A0, and the highest note it can play is a C8, which gives it a range of just a little bit more than 7 octaves. Now what about a violin? The lowest note that a standard tuned violin can play is the G string, the open G string, so that's G3 specifically. And the highest note it can play is something on the E string, so maybe up to C7 or so. Now here's the answer to the question you came here for. What's the range of the theremin? First, I'm going to adjust the pitch knob so that I can capture just the very start of the positive zone, which will be the lowest note that can be played. This rumbling note isn't particularly musical. It really just sounds like a series of clicks. And as you know, the closer you move your hand to the pitch antenna, the higher the pitch gets. And when you physically touch the antenna, you get this note that's around G7. So here's the tricky part. I'm trying my best to get my hand as close as possible without physically touching the antenna. And the highest I can actually go before jumping to G7 is around a C7. There's actually a little gap between C7 and G7 that's really not possible to play on the theremin. So there it is. The theremin's able to play notes down from A1 up to around G7. When I'm tuning the instrument for a specific song, I usually set it to within 2 octaves, maybe 3 depending on the song. Thanks for tuning in. I hope this helps. Make sure to hit like, subscribe down below, and I'll see you next time.